Okay. Okay. So this whole business arose when I was in a car with Ramesh on the way from Disha's house to the airport. And in the course of the conversation, Ramesh revealed that there were two transformations that happened in the school. One was a transformation in primary school, in that all the children started speaking in English fluently in less than a year. And this was the result of one of the new teachers who was not brainwashed by the B.Ed programs and so on, or the whatever they call the phonic method of teaching and all that stuff. So she just spoke to them in English, told them stories in English. I mean, I hope I'm uh, reporting this correctly. Ramesh can correct me. That was one transformation, amazing transformation. Along with that, so this Ramesh attributes to the teacher. The teacher also took charge of the primary school design curriculum and so on. And nothing much was happening in the secondary school, though. This English transformation did not happen in secondary school because it was following the traditional curriculum. And Ramesh was also doing inquiry and critical thinking in the 10 minutes allocated to assembly. And the kids got inspired by that too. So two things happened side by side and they fed into each other. That's the stuff I have given in detail in the announcement of this. Okay, Ramesh. So tell me about, in your words, now not in my words, but in your words, about the two transformations that happened because of the two of you.
Okay, probably I would first start with the disclaimer that I used to, you've decided to call it transformed or transformation already happening. For me, it's like it's the beginning of something happening. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
beginning has been happening for the last, let's say, couple of years.
Yeah.
But I still see it as just the beginning. We have so much to go. Yeah, first thing I would say is the English speaking, and I would not attribute that so much to as English speaking skill uh, as to their confidence to speak in English or the
Mm-hmm.
willingness, their keenness to speak in English, and that is what I would say probably that teacher triggered or ignited in sections. Uh, so it's like she is a class teacher of one class, and then she inspires them into English.
Yeah.
She's not even speaking
Can
English.
you can you tell her, mention her name?
Her name
I've
is Shweta.
forgotten. Hmm?
Shweta
Shweta.
Bhaskaran.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, so once this put her class gets inspired or enrolled or whatever word we want to use. Uh, so she becomes like a role model for them. And I actually don't. I should have prepared. I don't have. As I'm saying, I'm thinking, should I have said that first and this first? Uh, she created herself as a role model in class. I think that's
Ah,
the beginning. And then this role model is speaking in English. So then the students also want to do what the teacher is doing. Otherwise, most of the classes, teachers tend to go bilingual because most of the students, if not all of them, come from completely non-English speaking backgrounds, and so it's much more comfortable for, and so do the teachers. So it becomes very comfortable for them to switch to Tamil as and when required. But Shweta made it very clear she was not going to use Tamil anywhere in the class, and she's going to only speak English. And she says that's what she would like her class also to do. And I really don't know what is the magic or whatever she has done that created that relationship with the class, that the class is more than happy to try and do whatever she says. So she says, let's speak English, and they are all. And this is besides so many other things. Little rules. She says, okay, well, let's keep the classroom clean, and everybody is happy to keep the classroom clean. So they drop something during lunchtime down. Usually it says, okay, we'll call the akka, whatever we call the people who clean the place as akkas. So akkas to come and clean. But this class, no akka. We messed it up, so let's clean it up. So even if the akka comes with the mop to clean, they take the mop from her, and so she's kind of got them, I don't know, into that kind of mindset of being responsible and things like that. So uh, this is my understanding. So my understanding is she created something in her class, then the whole school sees that this one class in the school is fully speaking in English. They refuse to speak in Tamil. Even if somebody else comes and speaks to them in Tamil, they refuse to even talk back. If they see me in their class talking to somebody else on the phone in Tamil, they say, no, in this class, no speaking in Tamil. So it's kind of become a religion in their class not to speak Tamil. Then I was saying that is stretching it too far. I'm speaking to somebody else outside. Yeah, that and the sense of responsibility, it slowly becomes evident. Then class, so she is teacher of class 5. So then class 4, they also start seeing this, and then she, of course, she also goes to that class. So then when she goes to that class, and she can point to this class and they can do it, you can also. So then that's how I've seen it move. Class 5 first started speaking English, and then class 4 also started. And then class 3. Then I was very surprised when even class 1 and 2, who have had no background at all in speaking in English, and they really completely struggle. But when I go to their class, with whatever few little words they know, they somehow try and speak in English. So that was something which was very inspiring for me. Small little kids. I yesterday went to go and all that. So nobody has, especially class 1 and 2, nobody has forced them. I mean, the teachers are told it's okay, whatever language they speak, you speak to them in English as much as possible, but you let them speak whatever they speak. But even so, my guess is, okay, this again may be connected to the morning assemblies. So when I speak to them in the assembly, I'm only speaking in English. So there again, everybody sees certain people speaking. So this entire class of Shweta, they're engaging the most, and they're all very, I won't say 100% fluent, but for their standards, I think they're quite confident in expressing, communicating what they want to do. And that, I think, lights the fire for other people. So how I find class 1 and 2, this engagement with the people I've been doing for many years. But the difference is now the range of classes engaging with me on it, especially when class 1 and 2 engage with me, it's something completely new. So I don't have any intellectual side to this. I think it's more of an emotional thing that a set of students get deeply connected to a teacher, and so they are happy to try and do whatever she asks them to do.
Yeah.
And then other students also see it and they think, why not? We can also do that. And then everybody wants to engage. So I think the morning assembly happens because everybody has, I'm asking my interactions are all very generic questions about life and stuff like that. So everybody has something to say.
Yeah.
So for them, it's an opportunity to engage with whatever is going on.
Okay.
So that's the English part.
Yeah. No, let me pause and reflect. What you're saying is that she wasn't intentionally trying to teach English. The way it happened was she just happened to be a role model. I don't think she deliberately set out to be a role model. Because of her personality, heart and mind and so on, behavior, she became a role model.
She's also an English teacher. She's also the English
Yeah.
teacher for 3, 4, and 5.
It just happened that she was like
Happened.
that, right?
Exactly.
So she becomes a role model, and whatever she does becomes something that kids aspire to. So, for example, if she was, if it happened that she came with, completely bald head or something, then people would do that. If she came dressed in some African clothes, people would want to do that. Anything that the role model does, the kids want to do that. So that's an extremely important activity. And she wasn't trying deliberately to teach English, but it happened spontaneously. And it just happened that she had a great, not only the English, but also a value system of, cleaning the room and various other kinds of things and, ethical considerations and so on. So you're saying for those kids, that's what matters, not the examinations, not the curriculum, etc., etc. Kids would learn what they want to learn, and this thing, they want to be like them. So if for the kids who are interested in dance, if a particular dancer became a role model, then they would, learn to dance like them. So I had some role models in my life, in school and in college and later and so on. I desperately wanted to become like them. And no matter what the school curriculum, college curriculum, I became like them. So you need that effect. And that's the best form of learning, actually.
Yeah, so I
Uh,
would also like to add now, she is also shared about this with respect to her class also. The English also is a subject that she has to teach.
yeah,
She says
yeah,
it's so effortless, she doesn't have to do anything. You
yeah,
just say it and they do it. Uh, there is
yeah,
no pushing, coaxing for them to do their own.
yeah,
Uh, there is some ease and grace in their learning of English
yeah,
also. Because of this connect with the teacher,
yeah.
it was.
So kids enjoy doing something. Kids want to learn to be like the role model and so on. And those are simply the conditions. And then it just in the primary school, the learning is effortless. You don't have to teach them. You just provide the conditions under which learning takes place, the emotional conditions and other kinds of conditions. Now, uh, in the secondary school, that may not be the case. There will have to be some degree of overt teaching for them to go to the next stage, reflective. I mean, they should know what they're learning, which they don't need to know in primary school. In secondary school, they should know we are learning such and such, and that is important learning, so they aspire towards that. So, what happened in the case of the assembly? Because there you had some goals of inquiry and critical thinking, and you designed your 10-minute whatever speeches or interactions with respect to those goals. Those were kind of uh, carefully formulated goals. How did those things work?
There again, I've not made much of a progress with the secondary. Even in the assembly, 90% of the people who engage are again primary, because they are the ones who are still confident to express themselves. They are the ones who are more comfortable with English as a language to speak in the assembly, uh, which includes class 6. Class 6 was Sweta's class last year. So they are already there.
But are you saying that the class 7, 8, 9 who are in the assembly were not active? It didn't spread to
very, very little. Maybe 10% of what happens with the primary is all that's happening there.
okay.
So, but there again, I would say it's a long work in progress. I can see little improvement in their willingness to engage. But I can still see language probably as the barrier. So not everybody is engaging.
So what did you do in the assembly? What kinds of questions, topics did you discuss with the kids? Some examples.
Okay, what's
Mo
the
Saransh has his
what?
hand up, so
But
maybe
wait,
you want to take his
let me
question.
finish this,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
Saransh can ask questions after this. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this year actually this year started off with a question: why are you coming to school? Why do you want to get educated? What is education? That it started there, but then it's gone all over the place. So I'm trying to recall where is it now. I'm suddenly blank.
Can you recount some of your experiences with the interaction with the kids? What they did, what kinds of issues they raised? This was interactive, right? This wasn't, you were not lecturing to them.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
totally correct.
So can you
I asked a
give some
question.
examples of the interaction?
Okay, so I don't specifically remember the last part, but somewhere in the middle, like, so you were talking about why education, and somebody says, okay, to get a job. So then we get into, so why do you need education for a job? What is it that you need from education to get a job? So then the obvious first things will be to get knowledge and the standard ones. And then again we get into, so what knowledge? So whatever knowledge you're getting in your school now, do you think that's going to be useful for your work? So why are you getting this knowledge? Your physics and chemistry is not going to get you a job there. So why are you getting this? So then they come into, okay, we need to gain some skills. Then again, skills become a question. So you're not going to get any skill which you require for the work. So what exactly are you getting from school? That's the kind of question which goes. So then somebody said to communicate, to get confidence, to get a job, I mean, not to do some work. So in school, I get confidence. And this is what I was sharing to you about. So initially it was about getting job, and we were talking about hard skills and knowledge, and then when it moved to confidence, that's when one first grade student put his hand up and he said, why are you changing that question? Earlier you said, what do you want to get from school? And now you're saying, what do you require to get confidence? They said confidence. So how are you going to get confidence in school? So the entire question completely changed. How do you get confidence from school? That's when that first standard kid put his hand up and said, you initially asked, what do you need to get a job? And now you're asking me how to get confidence. So why did you change the question? And how are the two questions connected? So I found it interesting that the first grade child is even asking a question like that. So then I said, okay, so that's what your other friend said, that for getting a job, confidence is required. So that's why I'm asking. So then I asked that child himself. So how do you think you will get confidence? Obviously, he's being confident to say that.
Yeah. And the kid had confidence to ask you that question. That's the funny part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He raised his hand and said, I want to ask something.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of other hands which were talking about, I mean, we were ready to give answers. And this guy put his hand and said, I want to ask something. So then I stopped everybody else and I said, okay, you ask. Because that's something which I always keep saying. I mean, a learner is somebody who asks more than answers. You're a better learner if you're going to ask questions rather than give some answers to somebody. So, and these are also things that probably makes a difference in the class also. So where, see, one thing is, at least in primary school, we make sure the usual thing which happened in school, question and answer business, doesn't happen. Usually, most schools, what happens is that there's a textbook and then the teacher goes through a textbook and these are the questions, these are the answers. So we don't do that at all. So there are no right answers to anything. In an exam, we don't ask a question which is already there in the book. It's always something new for them to think about. So they all know that they don't come to school to know answers. They come to school to think and give their own answers. So maybe their confidence even comes right from there.
Okay. Okay. So with that, I'm going to step down from the stage, but leave Ramesh there. Now we can all ask questions. I guess I can also ask questions along with you. So Saranth was somebody who had raised his hand. Saranth goes first.
Yes, thank you. Ramesh, I wanted to ask you about how the other kids perceive the students who speak in English, because I remember from my experience, uh, I remember a few when I was, I think, in fifth or sixth standard, a few kids were talking in English, and they weren't even talking to me. They were just talking to themselves in English. And I was told that, okay, they are from a section where a couple of kids have started to talk in English throughout the school hours. And for me at that time, that wasn't something that was inspiring. For me, it seemed to be that they are being elitist and they are trying to put me down by talking to each other in English. And I was just wondering, because these people are not speaking in Tamil in your school, do the other kids see them as elitist? Is That's the first question. And the second question is, if such a culture exists, how do you fight that? How do you set a positive role model that, okay, it is okay to speak in English and it is not an elitist thing to do?
Yeah, which class did you say you had this experience? When,
I'm not sure my memory. I think but fifth, sixth standard, so I was quite old by then. But still, I had this feeling of inferiority, I guess.
yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think this usually happens for us as they go up, let's say class 7, 8, which is where the barrier is there. There, even between peers, it's not even about elitist. There's a chance that you can get put down by somebody if you speak English. So there's actually a peer pressure not to speaking in English in some segments. So
Yes, yes.
that's something that we need to find a way to break. Uh, I don't know if we have actually made any progress there, but my observation is there is some increase in English speaking in those classes also. Uh, Probably with the effort of some teacher there. Uh, because I do keep, what can I say, uh, picking on teachers or uh, asking the secondary teachers, how come your class nobody is speaking? Look at primary, everybody is speaking. So then that's kind of, I am putting some pressure on the teachers. So maybe they are doing something in those classes 6, 7, 8. My focus is up to class 8. Maybe they are having some conversations there. Correct. I do remember, I think it's class 8. This teacher during lunch hour, they all sit down together, not on the table. They all sit together in a circle or in a way that they can see each other. During lunchtime, she spends that time uh, asking somebody to give some sentence in Tamil and somebody else will translate into English. So she's trying to bring that thing of, uh, what can I say? Right now, English is being seen as an alien language that they don't want to relate to. She is doing some activity in which by which maybe it's kind of forcing in English into their heads. But I think that's a useful activity because now, as you asked me, I think I recall that class English is slightly going. And maybe it's related to this activity that teacher is doing every day during lunchtime. That half an hour while they are eating, they are also doing some work with English. She is a biology teacher, uh, but she is doing some work with English. Her English also is not very great, but then she is working with these students on something that probably she says share something that you want to share in English, or I just drop in for a minute, so I don't know exactly what they're doing, but all I know is she's having an engagement with them and each one is saying something in English, which normally they don't do. So a student who's normally otherwise not at all speaking in English, that lunchtime, it's a chance for them to say something in English. And I think that's kind of breaking the ice somewhere. Uh, it's all one small crack to make. Without that, they're not able to make a progress. And I think this teacher is succeeding in uh, putting that crack over it. And definitely in that class, the number of people who are speaking in English has gone up. People who I thought would never ever speak at all, even students like that, now I can recall has been doing something in English. Uh, Yeah, I think probably that for that some intervention like this from the teacher will be required, because otherwise the impact of the peer is much stronger than anything else.
Yeah. The peer pressure against people who speak English is the same as peer pressure against answering questions or asking questions.
Correct.
I know this is extremely strong by the time you get to college. So people do not dare to ask questions or answer questions, not because the teacher is against it, but because the rest of the students would, beat them up. The only way of taking care of that will be to show that if they are showing off by asking questions or answering questions, after one or two attempts, the teacher says, I want somebody else to answer the question. So you sort of pick somebody and say, you haven't said anything. How about you? And if a very timid person, of course, there'll be fear, even timid students, but if they get used to it, after some time, more and more timid students become confident, and then they realize that nobody's teacher's pet. So there is this horrible feeling about being teacher's pet, and there are people also, students, who are trying to be teacher's pet. Once that is abolished, and everybody is teacher's pet, then that kind of peer pressure, disappears. It's a cultural change. So actually, it's a cultural and psychological change in the learning culture.
Another inhibitor for responding is people have this fear about giving wrong answers and how they might get teased if they give a wrong answer.
Yeah.
So that's something I think we have consciously trained teachers on, and I demonstrate during the morning assemblies to everybody there that it's perfectly fine to say whatever is in your mind, and the response to a wrong answer is not different from a response to the best of answers. So everybody is equally valued and acknowledged. So then that barrier is not. People are okay, free to say whatever is in their mind. The stupidest of answers. Nobody is put down for saying some nonsense. That I think was also helped, because they can see everybody else said something and I've not. What do I say? I've not verified that it's a correct answer, and they survived. So then nothing happened to them. So then other people are also willing to take that chance.
Yes, I will.
Good.
I discuss.
Can I go next?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there is also a difference between kids of primary school age and secondary school age, English or no English, in the level of confidence when they speak. So it feels like not only are you grappling with that natural difference in how easy it is for them to share what they are thinking about, uh, but it's also the thing that they have not undergone, what is currently happening with the primary school kids. So not only do they don't have that background, but also like my guess is by nature it's much harder for older kids to talk in class, like share their thoughts in class than younger kids. And one of the things I was just thinking about right now is maybe the kinds of things you are required to talk about in class in primary school are like essentially of the form where there may not be correct answers, because it's more conversational, or they talk about things in life, or similar to philosophy for children kind of topics. So what if because I remember teaching the class in 7th grade in your school, and when we were talking about things that had nothing to do with curriculum, they were kind of opening up, right? So would it be possible to think of like create situations where there is no curriculum related requirement for them to share, just like you're doing with the assembly, but in a more structured manner? So maybe they could watch movies, or like maybe combine English speaking with something that they otherwise find enjoyable by itself, like watching a movie, or maybe even making a movie, using like simple animation, like stop motion kind of stuff, or just like using English as a way to tell stories, or describe what they are seeing in a certain movie. So if you used a cartoon or something, like play that and then ask them to share what happened in the cartoon. So maybe like in obviously in an age appropriate manner, but something where you combine the English speaking pressure or I mean just the speaking pressure, I'll say, with something that they otherwise find exciting or enjoyable. So yeah, just wanted to ask you what you think about that.
Yeah, makes sense. But one thing which I'm also doing is I'm going to classes 6, 7, 8 to engage on not a philosophical thing, but something to do with. I sent you a message about density, right? So class 6. So it was about I saw some other teacher do some experiment to show them, rainbow colors and all that. So I went in one of those classes to ask them, okay, what did you understand from the experiment? So then I'm just having a conversation with them, something to do with their subject. So we started off with white light, rainbow colors, and then when it came to refraction, then we would talk about then density is required. So then they need to understand density. So I just flow with whatever topic comes up. Now from density, now with that class, now I'm talking about gravity, and so I just flow with whatever that conversation takes me into, and I'm engaging on something academic, and 50% of my goal is to get people to engage. So it's like two outcomes from one action. We say, oh, one stone, two mangoes. No, it's like that. So they're also getting clear on concepts, and in the process, for them also to build confidence. And I think that's also working. I'm doing it in 6, 7. 6, 7, I'm doing just randomly some topic, whatever comes. Like last time, every week I go for one period. Last time I went to class 7, we were dealing with visible spectrum, infrared, where is infrared, what is infrared, what is ultraviolet. I don't know where it will go. I just let the conversation go. For class 8, I've specifically started, I don't want to call it a course, but whatever I know about financial literacy. So I thought that's the time it's useful. I'll use the next 3 years, 6, 8 and 9, or at least 2 years for them to learn something about financial literacy, money, etc. So that again requires them to engage. Not exactly academic topic, but something useful where people can engage and build confidence also. And as a whole, I would say if we have to make a set of goals for the school, the number one goal that I am very clear about and what I keep telling our teachers is build confidence. Whether they learn anything or not, all that is secondary. Is everybody leaving the school leaving with confidence in themselves, confidence to express? If that is there, whatever else is much easier possible.
Looks like Siley has been trying to raise her hand, but because there is a 5-ton
And
weight
Mahesh
on both
also
hands,
is-
she is not able to raise her hand.
Yeah.
Siley,
Ask Mahesh and then Siley. Mahesh had raised his hand earlier.
my
No,
okay.
Siley can go first. My question can come, but I have one quick question. Till what time was the call? It's now 11:13, and that was not mentioned at all.
It was like
Um,
12.
yeah,
12. Okay, all
12.
right. I
But
will lower my
then
hand.
if
Right.
there are people who want
But
to
after that,
continue, we'll continue.
yeah, but okay, I'll ask my question after Siley. This is one quick question because
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mahesh. So, two things I wanted to say. One is this thing of that you had described, Ramesh, that the teacher is strict. It's not like she's very lenient and permissive, and yet the students seem to like her. So, I think that's something I had discovered in my years so far. So earlier, I used to think that if you're very friendly and kind and let them do whatever they want, they will like you or respect you. But what I've realized is that they sense they like in my experience, children look up to people who are confident and assertive in, I mean, who seem to know what they are saying, and who seem to have thought about why they are saying what they're saying, and yet care about the student. So I think they can see that care, but they somehow tend to, like teachers who are assertive and put their foot down and say no, because, for I mean, not strict in the sense of uh, just dominating, but being assertive. So I think that mix is something that students look up to in my experience. So that matches with the way you've described the teacher, and that's also something that I've been trying to inculcate or imbibe in some ways.
Yeah.
And the other thing is about English. So I agree with what Rashmi said. So in the school that I was working in, Y, what we did was, there were a few things that the students just loved, like for example the computer class or the sports period, etc. And there we said that, unless you make an effort to talk in English, we will not, go ahead with these classes, or we will not allow you to engage. So you have to make an effort. And everybody, because one, it wasn't an academic thing as such, it was all a situation where they were going to have fun and enjoy, and they really wanted to participate. Everybody made an effort to speak in whatever English they knew. So I sort of resonate with what Rashmi said, that in contexts where there's no cognitive load of the academic uh, subject, they seem to be more open to talk, and especially for things that they want to do. So they didn't even realize they were like talking in English then. It was coming so naturally to them because they were so immersed in the activity that they were doing, that it just like came out of them. So I thought that thing really worked. So I just wanted to share that.
So you said two things. One is the learning came in sideways. They were focused on something else that they wanted to, and the learning
Right.
automatically came in. And the other was
Right.
the image of the teacher. The teacher you described was that of a caring but strict mother.
Right.
So
Right.
I
Yeah.
was asking myself, I do give the impression of caring for my students, but I don't. Well, this is my self-image. I don't know if it is true. I give the impression that they can walk all over me. I'm not strict and so on. So I think I'm less effective because of that image. Now, I don't know if that image is true. That is my self-image.
Uh, so I don't I don't quite agree with that more.
Okay, all right.
I
So,
mean, uh, yeah, I think your brilliance in what you do sort of uh, does not allow people to do that, even if they even if you say that I'm sure people
do I give the
don't.
impression that I'm strict?
Uh, No, but so for example, in matters of like whatever you call academic hygiene, for example, uh, I think you're very particular about things and saying that, okay,
Okay,
this is
yeah.
what this
Yeah,
has to be
quick
this way.
interjection. More, you're not strict, but you are demanding, or even if you don't verbally say so, any interaction with you is like demand. It places a certain demand on others.
Which is a form
Yeah.
of strictness
Also
also.
matters what you are strict about. So, like, I think there should be some enforcing of things related to, say, how you talk to each other, which I think you do. But if it's like a deadline, I don't think I mean, we have hardly seen you in contexts where you were required to be a certain way. Like most of your work right now is, I mean, I don't know how to put it, but you are not required to, have them submit things to you by a deadline. So I don't know how you would be in a different context, but in this context, I wouldn't call you strict as such.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Mahesh.
Yes.
Mahesh?
Oops. Yes.
Ah,
Uh, Unmuting. So Ramesh, question to you. First thing is, I was framing the question as you started talking about, and the word that you used, connection, was exactly what was in my mind. What Shweta had established with the students. And in my mind, the connection is the primary factor as to what they learn. So my question is about that. And Siley has already sort of, in her first observation, 73.27% has already been stated by Siley. Right. In terms of, we're talking about role models, we talk, and I would also bring in the word a mentor who's a friend and who's approachable. You also mentioned that, for example, no question is wrong, and then you're talking to the teachers who to get them to further understand that no question is wrong, questions should be allowed. Is there a set philosophy? Is there something organic that happens? How for something like this to happen for all the kids that uh, in that particular class to emulate or try to do what Shweta wants them to do, there is a connection that has to have happened. So that is where I'm coming from, rather than what has happened. Is there a philosophy that is there, a set of, I don't know, written down somewhere, something organic, or is it a secret sauce that is like the Coca-Cola recipe for some reason? Because that is the first step for me as to what they learn, how they perceive the person as a mentor, as a friend, strict, not strict. Any inputs on how Shweta and you and the rest of the people in the school do this? If my
Yeah.
question is clear.
Yeah. As Saili spoke, I realized I missed out on that part of Shweta. I only spoke about her as being a role model, which is not complete uh, in the picture there, because people actually value her for the caring person that she is. Uh, so that's what you're asking about. And I don't think I have an answer. I don't think even she has an answer. She keeps telling me, I don't know why these kids are looking at me like this. What have I done? It's her question also. She has no idea what she has done, or uh, why are they like that? Like every other day, they are writing they're drawing a picture of her. They say, I love you. And she keeps getting some gift like this, handmade by them. Uh, and every other class also. Now, it's not just her class. Even 2 days back, some other teacher in some other class had given some assignment for something, and everybody did something around Chetan. Uh, and she is also wondering, what is it that I do that does this magic with? She doesn't use the word magic. I tell her that there's some magic that you're doing there that gets them. And see, what students have directly personally told me is, uh, they say, even my mother, I don't think has cared for me so much. She's more than a mother to me, stuff like that. So that's the kind of connect she has kind of created there. Like when they having lunch, she makes sure they're eating everything. If required, she'll go and feed them, get each other to feed each other, make sure nobody eats junk food. So they see everything as this person is caring so much for us. And if somebody is so caring, why should we not do what she's asking us to? It must be good for us. So it's like, if she's saying it, it's good.
Understand. Quick follow-up. Yeah, I've spent many years looking for this secret sauce or silver bullet. I will continue looking for it.
I'll
I've
also
not
look for
found
it,
it.
since you asked me. I want to also look for the secret sauce. I'll We've got cameras in all the rooms now this year. So I'll keep peeking into her room what she does.
But the balance, a quick follow-up question, if I may. The balance between the strictness and caring. Do you think, Ramesh, that is something that comes individually, or is it because of a philosophy that you have developed and organically maybe imbibed, or given to the people who are working in the school, if that makes sense again.
Mm, If it is that, then I would expect every teacher to be like that. But that hasn't happened. But but one other thing which Shweta does say is a lot of what she does in her class, she says she got from me, but I also don't know what is it that I've given her or told her that has been a useful input. She says the way I am being with her is the way she is being there. I don't think I have been strict or anything, but I think I'm caring with everybody. So I don't know. Mahesh's questions are all useful. It triggers curiosity for me also. So I'll have to go now, dig more and see what is it that she is doing, what is it that I have done for her, and get some useful answers. Yeah, it'll be useful to make that into a capsule which can be given to everybody else, if that's possible.
Right. Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Velavan is next, I think.
Eleven. You're muted.
You can't hear.
First of all, I'm really happy that this is happening, and it's beautiful for everyone to watch and be witness to. So as far as secondary is concerned, see, children not being the most important concern, like when you are in 7th grade and above, is like joining the pack and figuring out where you stand in the pack. So all other considerations become secondary. So if a student is speaking English and most of the others are not comfortable, or they don't have a consensus on speaking English, then that student, it's not that the others are punishing him for him or her for speaking English, but it's just that they feel that they're betraying the group, the peer group, and so on. So anything that we do in that age group, see, this has to be taken into account, because the single most anxiety or concern or obsession, whatever you call it, for children at this age is, so which peer they want to be a part of a group, and there are also internal group dynamics as to where they stand within that group. So any intervention in that stage needs to be looked at in that perspective. So a couple of things, Mahesh. Yes, I really second what Rashmi and Saili said in terms of getting children to use English, because I see it's like even in our school we struggle. Children struggle with using English fluently and stuff. But one of the things that the PT teacher did was, so in the ground, if he hears anyone speaking English, I mean, they are just talking about game strategy and stuff like that. But he says, okay, the moment I hear a word in Tamil, I'm going to pause the game for like 5 minutes. Like 45 minutes of PT every day is all that they get. So children are far more conscious with stuff like that. So that's one thing that might work. Another thing about an activity which has a certain authentic a purpose to it, but which also necessitates the children use English. For example, you could go to 7th grade or 8th grade. You can tell them, see, I'll give each class an opportunity to do a post, for a Facebook post or an Instagram post for our school, right? And you can give them time limits. You can tell them you can use music and stuff, but whatever language you use, however you describe things, it has to be done in English. So this becomes like an authentic task which the children can then try. That's number one. That's one possibility. The other this thing is, in terms of input, what children need. This is like a double-edged sword. You need to try this very carefully. is older children reading to younger children. I'm saying this is very tricky because when you give children tasks like this, either children hate it because every child in that sixth to eighth group, especially sixth to eighth group, is desperately fighting to leave their childhood behind and step into adolescence. So they are very resistant to such activities. That's number one. Second, if you give it to very younger children, I mean, fourth graders, fifth graders, and so on, third, fourth, fifth graders, to some extent, they try to be bossy with younger children. So you got to be very sensitive. But if you find the sweet spot, this is one activity which can work. I think it's a safe bet to try it with eighth grade and above. Like if your eighth or ninth graders can read a story to, let's say, fifth graders and so on, especially if the popular ones start doing it first, that's one thing that can work. But be very cautious with trying out a strategy like this.
Okay, can I respond to this?
Yeah.
I actually think the other way around, where I see many children not so comfortable using English in non-academic activities. When I'm playing a game, I'd rather be focusing on the game, use whatever language comes to me. That's not the time for me to be thinking about English, which is exactly why I'm doing the reverse. So since I want them to engage in English, I'm going and dealing with some subject. So that is where they find it easier to engage in English rather than having them speaking in English in an activity which is they don't relate to English. When they want to share something happy, exciting, that's not the time for. I'd rather do that in a language which helps me to communicate with. But dealing with some subject, talking about, okay, what is gravity, what is density, it's easier for them to speak in English. So I kind of go the other side. So
Yeah.
I tell the exact opposite. So when you're doing something academic, see if you can keep them in English and not go. But then don't do that when they go to PT. When they're in PT, let them play their game, let them be free, speak whatever language. Let PT be the last place to enforce English speaking. That's the way I'm seeing it.
Yeah. See, if that's working for you, that's what you should do. And I think Mo's mentor N.S. Prabhu calls this the approach that you're taking. He calls this moving from literacy to language. You take an academic stuff, you use language in that context, and children slowly pick up the language. So that's great. Yeah. See, one quick question. See, I'm really curious to know how this is playing out in the staff room in terms of politics and stuff. One teacher is receiving all this adoration from all the other kids. So how is it on the other teachers? Are they getting inspired or do they feel threatened? How is it playing out in the staff room?
All varieties are there. There are some teachers who've been inspired, and then they're trying to be like her, which is again primary teachers. A couple of secondary teachers, but I would say the majority of secondary teachers are not happy about it. They even try to see if they can pull her class down for something. All that nonsense also happens. So those are side effects that we'll have to deal with.
I want to go back to what Belavan said about authentic tasks and danger of using English, that kind of stuff. I didn't state that very clearly, doesn't matter. The distinction that Ramesh was making, as I can see, is that there are some tasks in which use of English is built into the task. So at that point, they will just use English in order to win the task. But there are other tasks, for example, playing basketball. You don't have to speak. So when they accidentally speak in English, and they accidentally speak in Tamil or some other language, it doesn't really contribute to basketball. So if the teacher says, on the playground, you should not use Tamil, that becomes a bother for them, because speaking in English or not speaking in English has nothing to do with playing basketball. But if it is story development in English, one person speaks one sentence in English, another person speaks another sentence in English, the rules of the game are English is built into the rules of the game. That works. The other one doesn't work.
I think Rahul had his hand up.
Rahul is muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for a very, very amazing discussion. So, Ramesh, one observation, two observations I had, and then a question. Uh, a lot of the things that you're using, right, in terms of the techniques, are very powerful. So, this role model business, small task business, let's clean the classroom. So, role models can exist, but role models, if they do very, very difficult things, then you just clap. But if she is being a role model and then saying, let's clean the classroom, and that is respected, then she's giving them a task to do that they can also succeed at. So I'm trying to generalize. I don't think it's about English. You could very well teach physics and mathematics and history through this method. Basically, anything that you can teach through the construct of a role model, through construct of small winning tasks, through an environment that's open to discussions, everyone gets heard and so on. And in fact, on the English part, one experiment that I've done in the last 4 years is uh, uh, a college BTech in computer science, but in Marathi, not in English. And that itself opened up everyone. So that whole barrier to expressing yourself opened up because we removed the restriction of English. It's like, Marathi, Hindi, Gujarati, anything's fine. You just express yourself. But the onus was on everyone speaking up. Now, here I'm very curious. Is it true that everyone starts speaking up? I'm assuming there will always be 30% of the class who still stays silent. No, not because they don't know English or not because they don't want to participate. It's just that they're introverts. They don't speak up. Um, does that happen? And if so, then how do you bring them into the discussion if you're only leaving the discussion to the talkative few? That was my question. But observation was on, can we, there's great potential to generalize what you're doing into a method for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. 100%. I don't think is expected in any class that everybody is going to engage to the same extent. So minimum 30%, probably even more than 30% may choose not to engage. How do we deal with it? I don't think we do anything directly to deal with it in the terms of getting them to engage. But what I tell the teachers to do, and I also do, is to use their name somewhere. Talking about example, if I know, let's say Rashmi is not engaged today at all, in my example, I'll take Rashmi as a name. So then she gets herself at least in mind somewhere connected in. And also sometimes asking that person, is there anything that you have in mind? Would you like to share? Also sometimes help some people on the wall. There are some people who are readily waiting to engage. Some are very clear, they have nothing to engage and they don't even want to be there. But there is another set of people in the middle. They may be clear about what they want to say, or sometimes even not clear, but there is something in their mind which they will feel good if they were able to say it in some way. And I think it's useful to help them to do that. So we ask teachers to look for that in their faces. I believe when a student is in that state, it will show in their face. So if you are present to all the students in the class and you see a student with that look on the face, it will be a letdown to them if you didn't ask them. So
Got it.
when the right opportunity comes, ask, okay, Rahul, is there anything you want to say? And 50% chance you might then try to say something which you wouldn't have done otherwise. If you are not asked, You are the last person to raise your hand. But if I could at the right time, the timing also is important. At a suitable time, if I could ask you, is there anything? It's not even like you tell me now. If I can ask it as an open question, which you can say no to, is there anything that you would like to say? I found that 50% of the time they have had something to say. They might even say, I'm not very sure, I'm confused. I can still say, just tell me what your confusion is. Just say whatever is in your mind. Give them that opening to share that confusion.
That's a very cool technique. Very nice.
There's a difference between
And
using.
Ramesh, when you
Sorry, go ahead.
so sorry, I was saying when you actually sense that different people are at different planes of something. So somebody is looking at density from a gravity angle, and someone's looking at density from a liquids angle, and suddenly there are subgroups that start forming, sub discussions that start forming. Do you start keeping track of these so that later you would kind of develop some social dynamic within that group, these students together? So okay, these are the five guys who are very interested in speaking English. These are the five guys who really interacted with this thing. So can you event into a physics club, an English club, a history club, and so on? Any such dynamic that you do consciously, or does it automatically happen in class when they come together in recess and all? Are those the guys who come together who were speaking in class about that same topic? Any social dynamics you see changing?
Not as a phase two, but phase one in terms of what you said. Am I keeping at least a mental note of who is standing where as far as this topic is concerned, or generally in their viewpoint, or their, what can I say, their view of things? That's something which I do keep note of, and I keep referring to it later when I engage with them also. Something which a student said 2-3 classes ago, and I'm referring to that. I will say, like Rahul said, or Rahul's view. So then even you are clear that I've listened to you, one, firstly, then, and second, it gives you also a chance to relook at whatever you said. So as far as I can remember, I do refer to that, and we also train teachers to do that. I think it's an important thing, because many things happen out of it. One, the student knows that you listen. Second, whatever you said, you remember, so you value it. So when a student knows that whatever they're saying and what their thoughts are being valued, that itself is an inspiration for them to think more, that they want to express more. That builds it also into their confidence. They become, their identity comes out of, okay, now teacher is listening to me as this, through my viewpoint. You're almost labeling that view with that person's name. This is Rahul's view.
I wanted to go back to this issue of monolingual education versus bilingual education and so on. And there I want to distinguish between learning to speak English on the one hand, and learning to use language clearly and precisely, doesn't matter which language. So once you have learned some language, the next step would be to learn how to use it with clarity, precision, and so on. And that ability transfers across languages. So if you learn to do that in English, and if you also happen to know French, you automatically transfer it. But if you learn to do that in English, and then you try to transfer it into Tamil or Malayalam, it doesn't transfer automatically, because these languages don't have the words, to express the kind of words that are needed for academic communication. So I wouldn't be able to teach, for example, philosophy in Malayalam because I don't have the words. I don't have the words to teach linguistics in Malayalam. I might use Malayalam examples, but I will, the language use will be English, because Malayalam doesn't have the vocabulary, even the common vocabulary. So, for example, Malayalam doesn't have the distinction between my favorite example, causation and correlation. counterexample, all those things. Or maybe it is my problem. I don't have the vocabulary. But if it is French and English, or even English and Japanese, you know, it may not matter because Japanese has, I mean, because of their training, Japanese has developed the vocabulary, Malayalam doesn't. So you have to separate these aspects in bilingual education. What is it that you're aiming at? Are you aiming at basic literacy, or are you aiming at precision and rigor and reasoning, etc., in whatever language you want?
Are you asking me? Generally,
No, I'm sorry. I'm just making a general comment. This is a Mormon. Sorry. Yeah.
Ramesh got really worried.
Yeah.
He's like,
We
no,
are
no,
very
I
clear.
didn't prepare for this.
Language here is out of
I would
syllabus.
never have agreed. Yeah, I would have never agreed if this was coming. Yeah. I had
We
a
are
couple of
concerned about functional language for communication. That's a word. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a couple of points. So I think different I mean, in any inquiry course that we have also run, different people respond to different domains of inquiry. So similarly, I think if we had to talk about speaking in English or being comfortable in English, different people would respond to different kinds of tasks. So, for example, you are currently dealing with the task of talking about concepts in science or whatever, and using that as the playground for them to just develop the way of confidence of building English. But if there are other, so if we think of all the teachers as a team who are working on this, that we want kids to be at the end of this year 5% more confident in English. So I am going to do this, and Shweta is going to do this. What do you think is your skill or your inner calling to do with kids that is not your subject or even within your subject? And each one tries a different modality, because I think we also need a variety of strategies. Like, so if supposing I am not interested in science for whatever reason, I am just switched off because you're talking about density. Doesn't matter what you want to do with it or whether I should pick up English or not. The by virtue of you talking about density, I am already off. And many kids are like that. Like, if you just say three numbers, they will switch off because it's math. And doesn't matter even if it's fun, because it's math, they would switch off. So if we have a combination that will maybe appeal to more a wider variety of kids. So that is one point I wanted to bring up. And the second part is, I find this discussion interesting because we are trying to sort of explicitize what Shweta is doing, or what some of us might be doing in our practice. So recently I was writing a small thing for, so suppose there is a person who wants to facilitate inquiry. What is their, what kind of pedagogical value system should they have, and how would they, so the section is called how what to do with student questions. And so if we can all reflect on how we respond to questions, and try to think about what happens inside us when we answer a question, or what is our response to them guided by. There is definitely a value system, parts of which we all share, but the way we operationalize that value system is different for different people. So what you said is you don't know what you have done, which Shweta picked up. But I think it could be some conversation you had in which you shared your value system, and she's operationalizing it in a way that is different from yours. So you're not able to see it. When we watch any other teacher, what we see is the outcome of that value system, but we don't really see the value system and the connection between that system and our practice. I don't know if that makes sense, but if we can
Yeah.
form the, explicitize that connection, that these are the things I want to achieve, and for me, what has worked is, these kinds of guidelines, that if I abide by these guidelines, I am closer to, be in alignment with that system. And then if we could all sort of, all of us who practice this kind of education, if we can have a handbook of people, what they do to achieve these kinds of outcomes, I think that will be a really nice resource for someone who wants to pick this up. So I can always, I can share what I wrote last week, but I feel like that is something we should all work on. Mo is
Rashmi, that's a fantastic idea.
corner of
We
the
should
eye
have
look.
that. We should have that handbook and put it up on the web, so that whether it is published or not doesn't matter. It can be up on the web.
Okay, so I will begin by sharing what I wrote last week. I mean, I'll email it. It's about a science course, like a scientific inquiry course that somebody wants to teach, where you are teaching the facilitators and the facilitators are doing it. So for this, it's very important that I convey to the facilitator in what spirit I am doing these activities, because otherwise it's just going to be the activity and fun. But if for them to really, imbibe that part, like what the activity is just a method or a vehicle to achieve something else, that has to be made explicit. So that's the reason I worked on it. So I will share that as a starting point, and if others could also add to it, that will be really, I think it'll be a good resource to have.
Yep.
From what I heard from Rashmi, I think I got something which helps me to answer what Mahesh asked. Is there some capsule that can be put when she said value system and things like that? I think I have always stood for two things. I've been saying it also all the time, and I probably people see it in me. I don't know to ask. So I say, as a teacher, first thing to create in your classroom is a space of love and respect. Everybody feels loved, everybody feels respected. They experience love, they experience respect. That's something which I tell the principal for the teachers. So that probably that's what Shweta might have got from me, and that is what she's expressing in her own way. And I wonder if that answers what Mahesh was asking me. I didn't get this clearly at that time. I can clearly see that's hugely present in our class. There's a whole lot of love and respect for each other between the teacher and the students. If Shweta says, I'm not feeling well, I got a headache, this whole class goes silent, nobody will disturb her. If I walk into the class in the Shweta ma'am has a headache, don't go disturb her now.
Absolutely. We're at 12:17. Do we have time for more questions? Williman and I have, Williman has raised his hand. I have an observation, but if we need to stop it now, then we can. Otherwise,
we should ask Ramesh that question.
Yes.
No.
So when Ramesh leaves, everybody leaves.
Yes.
I was here before everybody. I will leave after everybody.
Okay. Okay. So who goes first?
Williman can go first. Mine is more of an observation. I'm assuming Williman has a question.
No, mine is an observation too, so doesn't matter.
पहले आपने यहीं पे फंस जाएंगे.
Okay.
In the sense, okay. Williman, please.
Yeah. I see this question of connecting with children has been on my mind for quite some time, and I've been contemplating failing and so on. Okay, so Mahesh, you asked about what can help. Personally, for me, see, different approaches work for different people, but personally, for me, I asked this question and I tried a few things and I found this strategy unhelpful. But what helped me was, what is standing in the way of me connecting with the child? I found that to be a more tangible thing to work on, because connection is a state, and I don't know if a certain action can lead to that state. I'm not sure. But this is what I've seen in my own practice, Mahesh, not just to Mahesh, but see, if I have any concern about the child, any agenda related to the child and so on, that comes in the way of connecting with the child. For example, there is a child in my class, she's not doing very well academically. There is a very solid chance of her failing in one or two subjects in grade 10. Now, when that is in my mind, when I speak to the child even about non-academic things, so that being at the back of my mind is actually preventing me from, genuinely, authentically connecting with the child. See, it need not just be a concern about the child. It can be a very firm value system that I hold. For example, if I feel that, children should not just be concerned about exams, and children should also develop higher order thinking capacities, writing skills, and so on. Right. And if I see a few children as threats to that value system, it's not that your mind is actively saying, okay, this is my value system. Child A is a threat, child B is not a threat, and so on. But if I have that value system very strongly, and if that emerges directly or indirectly in my interaction with children, that can cause its own friction, right? Even without us intending it. And that can also see in my interaction with children, I have seen that to sort of block that connection with the children. So right now, I'm taking the opposite approach. I'm seeing, right, rather than trying to connect with the children, can I just let go, like within myself? It's not like physically being away from the children or not doing what is needed. Yeah. So in other words, I'm trying to let go if I can help it, and I am not enlightened, right? I can't do another session like Ramesh does, like saying that I've done it, but that seems to be working way more than me trying to actively connect with children.
Uh, Understand. So I'll make my point quick. First thing, whenever I come from a different world, I work outside the system, outside the education system. We do programs for children. So there are other constraints, but quick example. I mean, I do not have the academic language to express this, but for the last 9 years, something that has been with me is from absolutely unrelated. A documentary about heavy metal, where there is this British band called Iron Maiden, and the lead singer Bruce Dickinson was interviewed about how he does this, and he said if you take Royal Albert Hall in London, which is a huge space, and then as you're performing, you need to shrink it down to the palm of your hand and hold it. And then you need to be talking to the last person who's out there in the last balcony out there. And you need to be saying, you, I'm talking to you. I think there are multiple parallels. It's a simplistic analogy. This is something that I'm trying to do. I don't know whether it can be done or not, but I somehow feel that that's what Shweta is doing. She is telling the kids, you, the whoever's there at the end, I'm talking to you. Do I have a set of rules? I'm contradicting myself. I know, a philosophy, etc. But how do we get that thing where even if it's Royal Albert Hall or a classroom of 30 to say you, I'm talking to you, and I think that's what Shweta is doing, and Ramesh, what you're doing. I don't know if that made sense, but that has been one of the most important things that I'm trying to do. Do I know how to do it? No, not so far.
Mahesh, before Ramesh responds, there's a huge difference between a classical music concert where people go because they're interested in classical music.
It's
And
metal. It's metal. It's
no,
rock.
wait,
Rock.
let me finish. That
Hmm.
situation, and as a school classroom where students come in not because they have subscribed to it, but because they're forced to. So in that kind of situation, the Shweta system works, that Shweta has a responsibility to make sure that she gets everybody in the classroom because they didn't volunteer to do it. But if they come to my classroom outside the stuff and I say, What I'm going to offer you is rigorous thinking, inquiry, and so on. And if they're not interested in it, I have no responsibility to reach out to everybody. And my experience has been that in the kind of stuff that I am offering to students, maybe 10%, actually 10% is overestimation, 5% of the humanity would be interested. And I'm interested in those 5%. I do not wish to offer this to everybody because then I will be offering them entertainment, not learning, the kind of learning that I do. So there's a huge difference between Shweta's classroom and my classroom. My classroom now, once I stop teaching at ISA, I'm not teaching any compulsory classes. So I provide for whoever wants to learn whatever it is that I'm offering. Then I don't have a commitment to everybody. No. Okay, that's Ramesh.
Yeah, I remembered something I think very important, which may be relevant to whatever Mahesh brought up and you're saying. Last year in Shweta's class, there was one kid, whichever way you look at it, you can call him one bad student, bad boy, whatever. He is simply not interested in coming to school or learning anything. He would come there only to disturb everybody else. And Shweta used to break her head about how to get him to become a good student or do whatever everybody else is doing. No matter how much I convinced her into one student is like that, let him be, ignore him, take care of the rest. It was not possible for her. Till the end, she used to break her head. She used to come to my room and cry that I'm not able to do anything with this boy. And she is cried even in the class. Okay, that's another side probably which helps people connect. And she doesn't put on this thing of, oh, I'm a teacher, I'm there. So if she's angry, she'll be angry. She's sad, she'll be sad. If she wants to cry, she will cry in the class. So people see the human being there or the humanness or whatever. That's who Shweta is for the class. And she was unwilling to let go of one child because that child is like it thankfully it turned out the boy was taken out of school and because parent whatever the other side of it. But then till he was coming to school, she was unable, not even unwilling, is unable to filter him out and say now, okay, I can have this class without, he's not part of my class. In every way, he was a bad student. But even that student had to be part of her class. She was unwilling to let go, trying whatever she can. She used to do all kinds of things with him. I think that's the kind of being that she takes to the class, which makes a huge difference. This is something that people can sense, that they can feel it. That when she's giving a homework, it's not just because some homework has to be given. She's giving a homework because she wants you to get something out of it, and if you don't get it, she's upset about it. And then she will do whatever required till you get it. So that strong intention of hers for the student is something that I think makes all the difference.
Yashmi says, sorry folks, I have to leave now and I also have to leave.
Yeah.
So I guess, okay. So, sorry guys, before Rashmi. Oh, okay, Rashmi has left.
I thought, okay, who's the host then? I thought Rashmi was the host. Okay, now
Rashmi has left, so I'm also leaving.
Okay,
All right.
You can continue, but I don't know what. Yeah. Okay. All right. Bye.
Okay, so we'll
Yeah.
call it a day.
Later. Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
Ramesh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Ramesh.
We'll talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.